Well, no, maybe she can't. People don't want you to lose either.
Okay. We're good, Nicole? Okay, good. Okay, good evening, everyone. And thank you for joining us tonight for the District 2 Community Budget Input Session for our fiscal year 2021 budget. Also joining me this evening is Councilman Ben Molina, and he's in a separate room here at City Hall. We're in individual rooms, so we don't have to wear our face mask, and we can communicate with you a little more clearly. My name is Peter Zanoni. I'm the city manager for the city, this great city of Corpus Christi. And in addition to Councilman Molina being with us, we have 15 different department heads that are joining us as well, to include our fire chief, our police chief, our public works director, some of our utilities staff as well. The purpose of tonight's event is to talk to you, and some of you may have participated last year where we were actually with the community, with you at the center there in District 2. And but given the COVID pandemic, we're changing some of our business practices, and we're using this feature of communicating with the community with a WebEx meeting. And we've done these for several months now in some of our planning activities and our daily press briefings that Annette Rodriguez, the mayor and the judge and myself do. And it's not the best way to communicate, but it works. And we had our first virtual budget meeting on Monday, and we had real good participation. 400 persons attended through the various mediums. So what I want to tell you, though, is a little bit about the agenda. So I'm going to just do a quick overview of how the meeting will take place, and then we'll turn it over to Councilman Ben Molina, who wants to share some of his thoughts and comments with the community. And after Councilman Molina, I'll come back on and give you some highlights of what is in the budget. And again, the budget is for the new fiscal year that would begin October 1, and it goes through September 30th of next year. So it's a 12-month year. We begin the 12-month period on October and it ends on September. That's our city's fiscal year. And so after Councilman Molina, a couple of highlights of what is in the budget. And then what we're going to do is show you a video that we put together, and it'll kind of repeat some of what I said, but show you some additional information. And then after that video, it's really your time at that point. We're going to turn it over to the community to hear from you in questions that'll be posed to us via Facebook or YouTube or through telephone. Some persons are watching this on our government access channel, and they may not have access to a computer or may not want to, and so they can use the phone to phone in questions. Our interim director of communication, Deanna McQueen, will help to get all those questions posed to myself, Councilman Molina, and others. And so she'll be working as the facilitator to get your questions into us. And again, the purpose of you talking to us is we in particular want to hear about what you think of the city, but more so, we want to know what you want either improved, have less of, or have more of in the budget. And your input will be important because we're in the process of reviewing the budget with the council. I proposed it to council about 2 weeks ago, and now is the time to get input from the council, get input from the community. And so what we hear from you tonight can have an impact on the budget, and it did last year. We made some adjustments to the city manager's proposed budget after hearing from the community of what was most important to them. And so with that, that kind of provides us an overview of how we'll proceed. We want to thank persons for joining. We have pretty good attendance on Facebook here tonight, and we know YouTube watchers are out there as well as people watching it live on TV. So Councilman Molina, we're going to turn it over to you to provide some welcoming comments. This is the focus tonight is City Council District 2, and Councilman Ben Molina is the council person for that district. So Councilman Molina.
Well, good evening, Corpus Christi, and really happy that you can join us here today. I'd like to thank the city manager, Peter Zanoni, and his staff for their diligence in putting this budget together. Unfortunately, due to the coronavirus, we're not able to host these meetings publicly live in person like we were able to before last year. But hosting them online, I think, provides an opportunity for a lot more of the public engagement and public discourse. So I'm really happy that we're able to have this online and have the opportunity for you to submit your questions and comments, and I encourage you to do so as we work through this budget. If you need to get a hold of me, even after this presentation, you can reach me via cell phone, 361-271-4393, or by email, it's ben.molina@cctexas.com. So if there's anything that comes up even after this budget presentation, feel free to reach out to me. You can also reach out to city staff members here. They work really hard to put this budget together. And so I'm looking forward to being able to answer the questions and listen to some of the feedback. And just want to encourage you all to take this opportunity to get a sense of the scope of what we're working on here. And I'm looking forward to working with you all to get this budget passed, and that we can focus on moving ahead and moving the ball forward. So again, city staff, Peter Zanoni, thank you all.
Oh, there we go. Great. Thank you, Councilman. We appreciate that. Okay, at this point, let me just kind of give the viewing community a quick overview of the budget, and then we're going to show the video. It'll be a little more interactive. The video will be, so our budget is balanced, as this chart shows you. It does address the communities and the council priorities. We know those through working with the city council, but the council engages the community every day of the year, and so it addresses the community priorities. It does have a strong focus on streets and public safety. We know streets are one of the highest priorities for the community. A key thing in this budget is there is no proposed city property tax rate increase and no fee increases. And that's an important one. The city has a lot of fees, including our utility fees, water, sewer fees, and so on. No increase in any of those. The budget is $1 billion. That includes all our different funds that we have. It's 100 million less than the current year budget, and that's in part because of the economic downturn. The general fund budget, which is our biggest fund, on the next chart we'll show you here, is 2% less than the current fiscal year. So our current budget is 271 million right now today, but for the one beginning October, it'll be 265 million. And that's in part, as the next graph will show you, because of a downturn in some of our revenues. Our property tax is doing okay. We expect about 500,000 more, but less sales tax, about 400 million is projected over the next 12 months. And other revenues would be less as well. And so we had to live within our means and provide a balanced budget for you, the community. But even with the less revenues, we've prioritized the revenues that we do have to focus on those key areas. And so I'm going to go through those with you here. The streets enhancements, we have more money in the budget for street enhancements. There's a total of 78 million in our budget for streets. We know that arterial and collector reconstruction, residential street reconstruction, and other street maintenance, including markings and the work our in-house crews do, the street overlays. That's a total of 78 million. One key thing, though, I want to point out is this here. Shoreline Ocean Boulevard, which we all love to drive, and we know tourists love to drive, our family that comes to see us, it's in need of repair, right? And so we have identified $14 million to repair it from one end to the next, from all the way from I-37 to Ennis-Jocelyn. We're going to do a complete mill and overlay, including the bike lanes, and that'll be done beginning this September. That's a key signature item. In our budget, we have 5 additional police officers. City Council in the current year adopted a plan. Actually, let me go over this real quick. Go back one slide. All these here are streets that are in City Council District 2 that are being either worked on right now or scheduled to be worked on. These are ones from the current fiscal year, and some go back from 2019. We've reorganized our public works team, as you may have seen, and so we're finally getting to the backlog of streets that we didn't get to in 2019. We're doing those now, 2019's work, 2020's work. You can see here in District 2, we're doing bond program projects. We're doing residential street reconstruction. We're doing in-house work. We're self-performing now for the first time in many years. And we have street preventative maintenance streets as well that are being done. You can see this, we leave it up for a few seconds. You can identify some of the streets that may be in your neighborhood. So in addition to streets, it's a focus of public safety, as I began to mention, and the budget includes 5 additional police officer positions. We want to add 25 additional police positions to have over 400 in the coming years. By 2024, we'll have 25 additional police officers added. In our fire department, we're continuing to train cadets there and improve their equipment and fire trucks. A key thing to highlight is that right now we have the biggest cadet class that the city has ever had. And we're gonna have all our firefighter positions filled soon. And that means we won't be using overtime to provide fire and EMS services. And what that means is we save money for the community and we have a better response time, frankly. In our neighborhoods, we want to have better code compliance services, and we've added 2 positions in the budget. We're using federal grant money to bring those positions on. We'll have a total of 23 next fiscal year. Our libraries, we're doing some adjustments there as well to have more library staff to help the public. There's $15,000 more in our library budget. In our parks and recreation area, we put a lot of money in the current year budget, and we're bringing in new leadership as well from within and from national recruitments. And one key thing in the budget, I know at Lindale, hopefully many of you have enjoyed the splash pad that exists there. And while it looks great today, we want to make sure it continues to work and look great for many years to come. So in the budget, we have more money for maintenance, specifically for the 3 splash pads that we just commissioned, including the one at Lindale. And then in solid waste, this is something that impacts our households every day. And one thing we don't do as a city that we're going to do beginning in 21 is organics collection. So grass clippings, branches, other material that's organic. We'll be providing a 3rd bin. Right now, all that material is going into the landfill, wasting valuable space and costing us more money. And so this composting program will begin. Is something that's in the budget for 2021. It'll begin later in the fiscal year. In our utilities area, the city is responsible for making and delivering water, wastewater, stormwater systems, and gas and solid waste. And so, as this chart shows you, and we want to make sure everybody's clear on this, we're not proposing any rate increases in any one of these areas. No water rate increase, no wastewater rate increases, no stormwater fee changes, no gas rate increases, and no solid waste increases as well. We understand with the COVID pandemic, many persons have been impacted financially with their jobs. And so we're being mindful of that, and the budget reflects that as an example with these utility adjustments, no adjustments. Now, one final thing here before we show the video is the bond program. And so just this week, just yesterday, City Council approved putting an item on the ballot for the voters to consider this November 3rd. It would be a bond election that we've had here in the city. We generally have had them now over the past decade every 2 years. And so it's time for the voters to consider another bond program. These are ways that we can invest in infrastructure, doing signature large capital investment projects. And the bond program we're proposing has no city property tax rate increase, but it does deliver $75 million in new projects for the city, including $61 million for new streets, $12 million for park improvements, and $2 million for public safety improvements. And specific for City Council District 2, we're going to show you here, include these streets. There's Brownlee from Staples to Morgan. That's a $2.7 million street reconstruction or rebuild. Alameda from Texan Trail to Chamberlain. Everhart from Staples to McCardle, $4.3 million. And then 4 parks have been identified, including Coopier, Sherwood, Sam Houston, and Temple Park. The $250,000 for each park will ultimately be decided with community engagement, neighborhood engagement. but generally it could include things such as new playground equipment, shade and seating for the parks. And then unique to District 2 is Fire Station number 3, which is a pretty big fire station on Morgan and 11th. And that has been identified by our fire chief, Rocha, to be the station that needs to be replaced the most in all of our systems, all of our fire stations. And so fortunate for District 2, that'll be a nice new asset. And the bond program includes money to begin the design or to fully design the fire station. And then in the next bond program, we'll program the money for the construction of it. So this bond program all these projects and many more are placed now in front of the voters for consideration in November. And it does not require a city property tax rate increase. We can do it within our existing means. Okay, so that was a kind of a quick overview of the budget. And what we want to do at this point is show you a budget video. It's a little more dynamic and has some of the same detail. And once we roll that video, we'll come back and we're going to have Deanna McQueen and myself, Councilman Molina, and some of the department heads begin to have a conversation with you on your thoughts. Thank you.
Corpus Christi is a vibrant coastal community with amazing natural beauty and unprecedented economic growth. It is the 8th most populated city in Texas, with an economic engine that includes industry, military, tourism, and the 3rd largest port by tonnage in the United States. City Manager Peter Zanoni delivered the 2021 City of Corpus Christi proposed budget to City Council on July 28, 2020. The budget is balanced and based on priorities from the community and City Council, with no rate increases for property tax and utility rates. The billion-dollar budget represents $242 million in the general fund, $276 million in the enterprise fund, $126 million in the special revenue funds, $121 million in debt funds, and $260 million in the capital budget. The fiscal year 2021 proposed general fund budget is $265.3 million, which is down from last year at $271.2 million. There are budget enhancements for critical service areas, with no rate increases for property tax and utility rates. With police and fire accounting for 52% of the general fund budget, the remaining departments rely on other funding resources like fines and fees. Solid waste is $28 million, streets $27 million, parks $19 million, and other departments like library, health, and animal care total $54 million. What's new in the proposed budget? Street maintenance and reconstruction will be top priority going into 2021. $78 million has been budgeted for street maintenance and reconstruction, with $33 million going to street maintenance, $34 million to arterials and collectors, and $11 million to residential streets. The streets proposed budget includes a Shoreline Ocean Drive project that will undergo a mill and overlay to rehabilitate over 14 miles of roadway from I-37 to Ennis-Joslin Road at $14.5 million. $1 million is budgeted for a new program to provide maintenance for city's concrete streets and $300,000 for increased pavement markings. The police budget proposals include funding for 5 new police officer positions for a second year of plan to add 25 officers by fiscal year 2024, Radio Phase 2 equipment purchase of 854 radios for public safety, and a new police academy scheduled for July 2021. The fire department proposed budget includes a new fire academy scheduled for January 2021. CCFD will be at full strength with over 400 sworn firefighters in July 2021 for the first time in the past decade. Truck replacements include 3 medic units, 2 fire engines, 1 aerial truck, and replacement of 140 self-contained breathing apparatus at $931,000. The budget proposal also recommends a $360,000 increase in the city's financial contribution to the firefighter retirement system. Code enforcement budget proposals include 2 additional neighborhood code enforcement officers funded by the Community Development Block Grant to bring the strength to 23 officers. Library proposed budget includes increasing library aid and library assistant hours to better serve the public at $15,000 and increasing custodian hours to maintain cleaner facilities at $18,000. Parks and Recreation budget proposals include funding for maintenance for 3 newly commissioned splash pads at $38,000. Solid Waste proposed budget includes beginning an organic waste composting program to decrease the amount of waste going to the landfill, saving taxpayer dollars, and funding for 5 solid waste recycling inspectors for public education to reduce the contamination of recyclables. The COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the importance of the Health District. The Health District budget proposals include an additional $165,000 for an assessment and to create a strategic plan for future operations. The city's credit rating was upgraded to AA-, and the city's comprehensive annual financial report was completed with a positive result. The Finance Department proposed budget includes funding to hire a grant manager and add a utilities liaison connecting the city and utility companies. The IT Department budget proposals include continuing to upgrade the city's infrastructure to increase reliability, security, and network speeds, centralizing the geographic information system to improve support and mapping data for enterprise applications, and creating a security operations center for 24/7 monitoring and support. In the Utilities Department, there are no proposed rate changes for water, wastewater, or gas. The fiscal year 2021 proposed budget is balanced, addresses council and community priorities, focuses on basic city functions such as public safety and streets, and is consistent with council-approved financial policies. Now that the proposed budget is presented, what's next? To adopt the fiscal year 2021 budget, a public hearing and the first reading will be September 8th, and the second reading will be September 15th during City Council meetings. The City of Corpus Christi budget is the blueprint for the next year of programs and services. If you are interested in more details about the budget, visit www.cctexas.com.
Okay, great. I hope you enjoyed that video. Our staff did a great job putting that together. And as it said, you can go to our website if you care to watch it again or share it with your friends or neighbors so they can learn about the budget as well. So at this point, we are going to have Deanna McQueen help to moderate the questions now that will come in, or the comments from YouTube and Facebook, as well as from the phone. And Deanna, before I turn it over to you, I did want to acknowledge that in addition to Councilman Ben Molina, whose district we're representing tonight, we do have Councilwoman Paulette Guajardo, Councilwoman at large. She's on the meeting with us as well. And then Councilman Gil Hernandez from City Council District 5 is on as well. And there may be other council members, but that's who I could tell from scrolling across our WebEx screen. Okay, so Deanna, we're going to turn it over to you, and more importantly, community, we're going to turn it over to you now. This is really provide you an opportunity to speak with us and tell us what you think and how we can adjust to do even more of what you want beginning October 1.
Well, good evening, Peter. There's a lot of questions coming in tonight, so we have plenty of questions for everybody. A little bit about libraries, people are asking about the streets, and solid waste. So let's begin with, will public libraries be fully staffed before schools reopen?
Okay, that's a good question. And our library director should be on. We're going to hear from her. I know the answer, but I'd like the community to see her. Laura is our library director. She does a great job.
Yes.
And, go ahead, Laura.
Yes. We're currently fully staffed in terms of opening for back to the regular hours. We do plan to begin allowing browsing at the main library as of September the 8th. To the hours prior to COVID, at this point, we're not there yet.
Okay. Laura, we had a little trouble hearing you, at least I did on my side. Let me just paraphrase for the community. So because of the COVID-19 pandemic, Our libraries are operating under a different business plan at this point, and that means that they're not fully open as they were back before March of this year. And so to use the libraries today, patrons call in and get an appointment, and they can use computer systems. They can check books out through reservations, so they call in or use the computer and select what books they want to be checked out, and then we actually provide them to them at the curbside. And that just is a COVID protocol. So that will be open through the school, at least the beginning of the school year. And so that same system of being able to use the facilities through a reservation appointment, that helps us social distance in the library facility. And then getting access to books and materials to check out, that's done through reservation, and we actually deliver the material to you at the curbside. Thank you, Deanna.
All right, I just want to remind everybody that not all of the questions are about the budget, and we'll answer anything. And this is one question that you and Councilman Molina and Councilwoman Guajardo know all too well. They're asking about Cole Park Pier. They want to know if when it's going to be completed and if any funds from the budget will be used.
Okay, let me have Councilman Molina talk some big picture stuff, and I'll give some more details on it.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Cole Park Pier has been really an important project for me personally. It is in District 2, and I've been working really closely with city staff, primarily Keith Selman, the assistant city manager, to make sure that the Cole Park Pier project isn't forgotten about. I want to make sure it stays top of mind. And we've gotten some money set aside for the demolition, which is going to happen soon this year. But we're also working to identify future funding sources so that so we can start construction. We've already selected the design team, so we've already had some community input on that. And so that is something that we are working on, and I believe Peter can shed more light as far as the budget impact for this cycle for Cole Park Pier.
Okay, great. Thank you, Councilman. Yes, Councilman Molina has been in constant contact with me about the pier. We know it's a great asset for the community. So the phases include demolition of the pier, the existing pier. And that'll happen later this year, around October, between October and December. We're getting the necessary permits to demolish it. And so that'll happen later this year. The design is being completed now from Jacobs, as the councilman said. And then construction will begin at the beginning of the year. And the best news is that by the summer of next year, next summer, we'll have a brand new pier in the waters. And it's a long time coming, but it's going to be a great asset for the park, and it'll be somewhat upgraded. Where we've done a lot of work, Councilman Molina and others have done a lot of work getting community input, and so things like shade on the pier, more seating areas on the pier, and maybe another fish cleaning station compared to what we have had on the pier. Those are some of the amenities that we're adding. The money is being identified and is fully funded through our budget to include use of our community enrichment fund, where developers pay into a kind of a parks and recreation fund for this purpose. And then we're looking at other funding streams as well. And so we're confident that we'll have the funding, and we appreciate the community's input because it's helped to make the pier better. Thank you, Deanna.
All right. I just noticed Councilman Roland Barrera just joined us. How are you doing tonight? All right.
I was on mute. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, good, good.
Speak to that. I don't know if our code enforcement folks are on, but it includes the same, it includes funding, the same level of funding that we have today plus more. And so, as we said, we couldn't do a whole lot in the budget because of financial constraints with downturn revenues, but we did add 2 more code compliance officers, bringing our strength to 23 code officers. And we know that's important. We want everybody to respect the codes and their neighborhoods so everybody can enjoy a high quality of life. And so it does include funding, and it actually increases funding for code enforcement to make that a priority. We hear from the community, and I hear from the city council, who hear from you all, the community, that code enforcement is an important service that we provide. And so we're improving in that area this year.
All right, here's an interesting question also. Do refineries operating in the city affect the city budget?
Yes, they do. And so they pay the city, the refineries are not in the city's territory as per an agreement that has been approved by the city council several years ago. But they do pay they call it a pilot, a payment in lieu of taxes. And those funds are used to help support our budget, and a specific allocation goes directly to streets as per a city council approved policy. And so they're a good revenue stream for us, not only for the jobs they provide, the high paying jobs, but their payment in lieu of property tax goes to fund our street reconstruction and then also other areas of our budget.
Well, now we have a question involving solid waste services. Residents want to know when they will be able to use the compost option.
That's great. We're going to have David Liefeld, our solid waste director, who's a strong champion for this initiative. David, are you on tonight?
I am. I'm here.
Okay, great.
We will be working to permit and design our compost facility in the coming months. We will then have to take some time to prepare the location, and it'll be probably towards the end of next year before we've started processing the materials. After that, the initial processing takes between 3 to 6 months, and so it'll be a good year to year and a half before we have any compost available for the public to use. But about a year from now, we should be able to receive the materials, the feedstocks that we use, to keep them out of the landfill and start putting them through the process to make our rich soil amendment.
And David, this includes, and Deanna, this includes grass clippings, branches. It could include organic things from your kitchen, coffee grounds, shredded paper, right?
Yes,
David?
sir.
Paper towels.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
About 2/3 of what we throw away in our homes is organic material that's compostable. So we'll be able to provide a curbside cart, probably a year and a half or 2 years from now. We'll be able to have those functional that the citizens will be able to request. They'll be able to put all their compostable items in there, and then we'll have a schedule set up to pick those up and take them to the compost facility, where we'll run them through the composting process and create a nice rich loam from them.
All right, here's a question relating to the police department. Will there be additional police officers added to District 2 to help reduce crime in commercial areas?
I'm gonna begin the answer, but then we're gonna have, I'm not sure if Chief Markle's on or one of his deputy chiefs, but the budget does include 5 additional police officer positions. And we're continuing to train cadets. In fact, there's a new cadet class that's in today. They're being trained right now. And so we know the community has a great relationship with our police department. We have a highly functioning and very well respected organization. I'm real proud of them, Chief Markle and his leadership team. But really every street police officer carries the same ethics code and an approach with the community. Chief, are you on, or is there one of your deputies that's on tonight?
I'm here, Peter. Thank
okay,
you.
Great. Yes, sir, Chief. Go ahead and answer that.
Yes, sir. And thank you for the great question. So we are adding officers, city management through the city council's guidance is adding 5 officers year over year for the next several years. All of those officers will be operational. So they'll all be moved out into the field and they'll all take up the shortcomings of call response. Now, as far as District 2 goes, we currently have an operation in plan due to some of the new crimes that have popped up. There's some business burglars that have popped up, and we have our eye on those, and we understand what's going on over there. So we're addressing that issue, but we constantly address issues as they move throughout the city with our staffing levels. So the staffing levels ebb and flow, but as your new officers arrive and as they graduate from the academy, all of them go to operations. So none of them will go to positions outside of uniform patrol that we need to see our officers in. So thank you for the question.
And Deanna, can I saw you may get to it, Deanna, eventually, but I know the chief and Councilman Molina and other council members, we've worked on this. I wanted the chief to respond to this other question, which was the drag racing that had been a pretty big phenomenon. It's pretty much eliminated at this point, Chief, because of your work. But talk to the community about what we've done there on Ocean Drive to reduce that loud, I don't know what you call it, drag racing, kids messing around on Friday, Saturday. Yeah, go ahead. Tell us what you've done and what's in place.
Officers have been assigned to this area, specifically to this area, to curb the drag racing and, quite frankly, the loud pipes that sound like they're drag racing, but they're not. So we've done that. We've invited DPS in there with us. So we have worked pretty diligently to try to displace this type of activity. Some of it, I've got some calls that they haven't seen us out there as much. But remember, we've been displaced a little with COVID, with beach patrols and different things that we've had to do, the food bank distributions and blood draw or testing sites rather. So, but that initiative has not gone away. So we're still working it. It will be bolstered again when we get through this pandemic, but it has had great results. Appreciate the input. We had a community meeting with the folks on Ocean Drive. It's a great meeting. Lots of thoughts were aired and you know, it was great. That's the way we like to do business, interacting with the community. City managers there, a lot of good folks were there. Council was there, some members of council and my team were there. So we're going to keep after this and other issues at the same time. I seem to have. Peter, I don't know if you're talking to me. I seem to have lost my audio from you.
Okay, there we go. Okay, Chief, I'm sorry, I was on mute here. I'm sorry. Chief, what I was saying is, similarly, we couldn't hear you in the beginning part of what you were saying. So tell us what we're doing, what you're doing there, what we're doing to reduce, to stop that. You may have said it, but we couldn't hear.
Okay, apologize for that. Okay. So we put together a special team of officers to work specifically in the Ocean Drive area to address the drag racing and the loud noise in that area. Had a great community meeting. We put together a plan. We invited DPS to support our efforts. And I think it helped a lot to curb that activity. That activity on our end has had to diminish a little bit, that investment due to COVID obligations, but it has not stopped. We're going to reinitiate that hopefully soon when we get through this pandemic a little further.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chief. Deanna, we're going to turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you, sir. Will this budget include improvements to Lion Park?
Did you say Lion Park?
Yes, sir. Lion Park.
I'm going to turn it over to our park staff. I think one key thing to just say in the big picture is every one of our parks is being better maintained today than they were a year ago. In the current year budget, we increased funding for maintenance to include irrigation systems, and we're putting amenities into parks where we haven't for many years in the past. But either Tracy or Joey Johnson, could you specifically address that one park, Lion Park?
Hey, Peter, this is Joe Johnson, Assistant Director, Park Operations. Lion Park is not on this year's budget, but tomorrow I will put that on my list and look at that park and see what amenities are needed in that park.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Joey.
Yes, sir.
We have a question.
Peter, I'd like to interject on that.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead, Councilman.
Yeah, so Lion Park is one of the many parks there in District 2. I did take the opportunity to actually visit the park very recently. It is one of the parks that I visited on my own. This isn't one of the parks that I had visited with Mr. Johnson just a few weeks ago. He and I went out and visited several parks to discuss some of the opportunities there. Lion Park definitely has a good landscape and good opportunity for improvements there, and that is something that is on the radar, and something that I would like to see personally, where we can find something to make some improvements on that park so that the community can enjoy it. Thank you.
Councilman, we're actually looking right now to develop a list for the Bond 18 funds. So I'll get with you on this after this meeting, probably tomorrow. We can talk about that.
Okay, Deanna, we're going to turn it back over to you. Thank you both.
All right, let's talk streets. Does the city budget include funds to address resurfacing or reconstruction of Alameda Street?
So Peter, I can handle that. Richard Martinez, Director of Public Works. So yes, and we have a proposal in this year's bond, the 2020 bond for Alameda from Texan Trail to Chamberlain. Of course, that's going to be on bond referendum. So hopefully there's support for that project as well.
And Richard, can you go into detail about what will happen there? It's a pretty significant budget, 6.3 million for that street.
Yes. So that's going to be entire reconstruction of that street, curbs, sidewalks, street lighting, and all the pavement markings that go down, bike lanes, everything are going to be on that street when that gets reconstructed.
Great, thank you.
We're getting a question about when will there be a completion date for Morgan Street? If so, when?
Okay, so sir, I have that one as well. So Morgan is scheduled to be completed by June of 2021.
And Richard, or Jeff, Edmund, that project is on budget and on schedule, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Does the city budget include funds to support and utilize our water towers?
I'm going to answer that, and then we have our utility staff as well. And so we're in the process of developing a plan to bring those water towers on, and funds are included to do the necessary work that has to take place to bring them online. So the short answer is yes. We'll be working with the council on explaining the plan for how we're going to go about doing that, in fact, this month. And so more information on that is coming soon to the community. We know we have 2 new water towers, and we'll build 2 additional ones not too long into the future as well to improve the system.
Does the budget include any additional money for skate parks or improvements to current skate parks?
Let's bring Joey Johnson back on for that one.
This budget does include some new skate parks in a couple of our parks. The Cole Park Skate Park, I'm working with a local group to try to get some grant money on repairing that park. I know that it's in bad condition and needs to be fixed. We're trying to get them to become a nonprofit, and then we're going to use them as maybe adopting the skate park, and then helping us get some money to fix that. Of course, this is all very preliminary, but the other parks that we're talking about putting a skate park in is like West Guth. It'll be an above ground skate park type park, not like Cole Park. It'll be aluminum ramps and stuff like that are fabricated and put on a concrete pad.
And Joey, is the West Guth, that's part of the bond program?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that would be, so that's identified in the 2020 bond program that the voters will consider in November of this year.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Does the budget include funds to update Sunnybrook Road?
Okay, so, sir, I've got a sidewalk project that's coming up right now on Sunnybrook Road. It's CDBG funded, and the pre-con just happened today. We're evaluating the street to see how we can collaborate, put those together in the 2021 street maintenance program. But again, we were still evaluating that section there.
And if I might add, those sidewalks will run all the way from Ayers to Evelyn Street. So we're still working on the rest.
Now we have a question about fire cadets. They're asking if does the budget allow for more fire cadets?
It does, but I want Chief Rocha to talk to that issue because he's done a great job and right now training the biggest fire cadet class the city has ever had, and we have another one in the budget too. But Chief Rocha, go ahead. Let's have the community hear from you.
Thank you, Peter. We've had some great support, not only from you and Michael Rodriguez, but also the council members and the mayor in supporting the fire department. You're correct, Peter. We hired a record-breaking 47 fire cadets in January of this year, and they currently are going through academy. This year's new budget for fiscal year 21 will allow for us to hire 25 more fire cadets in January of 2021. And for the first time in more than a decade, the fire department will be fully staffed.
All right, we have another question involving streets. Folks are wanting to know if we will see any improved street lighting throughout the city.
So yes, along with our streets that are being reconstructed and in our bond project, we are scoping them for improved street lighting. And this is one of the first times that we are starting to do that process. From here on out, we're improving the street lighting along with our street work.
All right, thank you very much. Right now, that wraps it up for questions.
Okay, great. Any other comments, Deanna, or are we any questions then remaining for us from the community, either by phone or the?
Well, I just got another question here. How do citizens give their input on how funds are distributed? Instead of only 5 officers, can we have 20 officers?
Yes, that's a great question. And a forum like tonight is one way of doing it, but throughout the year, we want to hear from the community, and the council members that are on the conversation here can say it better than I, but we're here, they're here 24 hours a day, every day of the year, and to listen to the community. And the budget's not made overnight. It's made through many days of talking to the community and the council. And so the more we hear from the community, the better. We know what the community wants, and we can include that as we develop the budget. We typically develop the budget in the May, June, July timeframe. but we get our data from a whole year's worth of information prior. Councilman Molina, do you want to add anything to that since you're the host of tonight's meeting?
Yeah, thank you. Myself and my colleagues here that are with us, not just the ones here, but the other ones that we serve with, we make ourselves available to the community. Earlier during the introduction, I gave out my cell phone number and my email address. So I try to be easy to access. And working through this budget process, like the city manager said, it's not something that's set overnight. Opportunities like this, we go through. There's also going to be several more opportunities within the next coming weeks for the community to provide their input. And it's important. We need to know what's important to you. We need to know what your priorities are so that those can be reflected in the budget. So reach out to us. Again, my email address, ben.molina@cctexas.com, or my cell phone number, 361-271-4393. Thank you.
Hello? Yes, this is Margaret. How are you?
Okay, Deanna, I think I can show the last bit of information there if you'd like, unless there's any other questions.
We just got another question here wanting to know about if the budget includes dog parks for the city.
We're going to have Joey answer that again if he's still on. You still on, Joey?
Yes, sir, I'm here. No, the budget does not include any dog parks. But it's something that we can look at with bond or using community enrichment funds to do. We are getting a lot of requests for dog parks.
Okay. You all do a great job, Joey, at managing the ones we have. I know the one at White's Edge Park is heavily used, but it's well maintained. We appreciate that.
Bill Witt should be opening here soon. We had an issue with the contractor and the grass dying, but we've tried to alleviate that, and should be opening here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, that'll be one of the newest ones. That was a bond program project, right? The one at Bill Witt.
Way back, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Peter, can I interject?
Yeah, absolutely, Councilman. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so, I referenced earlier that Mr. Johnson and I visited several parks within the district. And, we stopped and enjoyed the shade of one of the trees. And we were discussing, I did bring it up, the issue of dog parks. That is something that I would like to see more of. But as Mr. Johnson had relayed to me during our discussion, that there is some additional infrastructure that needs to be put in place before. It's not as easy as just putting fencing around an open field. But that is something that I would like to see more of. Thank you.
Let's go back to the libraries. We're getting a question here if public libraries will get additional funding with this budget.
And Laura, I'm still here, but let me answer and then we'll see if you want to add to it. Yes, it does. And so we know that libraries is an important area for the community, and we increase the budget in the library department by $15,000 to provide more staff hours. So library aides and library assistants will be more prominent in the libraries, using that $15,000 to provide more service. And Laura, do you want to add anything to that?
That's basically it. We are providing extra hours for our part-timers. That amount is for, and basically we lost like library aides in the past. So this is just trying to increase, because currently our part-timers are like 18 hours, so we're increasing them to 20. Some of the part-time library assistants are going from 18 hours to 25 hours. And so are the custodians, from 18 hours to 25 hours. So that is what the increase is for, just to help us better provide the services that we currently do.
I have another streets question. Does the budget include improvements to drainage areas along streets?
Yes, they do. So all of our streets, when we are designing them, have a stormwater component that's designed in there. I did see the question as well. They were talking about stormwater pollution prevention plans that where we put the bags on the inlets and the mesh that are there that are clogging up after construction. And what I want to say is that we have a water quality group that works with our construction team to make sure that those stormwater pollution prevention plans are removed, so that before we have a major storm event, that they can be cleared out and that storm flow can get into the drainage system. So the question is, yes, we do plan drainage improvements along with our projects. And then after they're done, we're improving the process to make sure the stormwater pollution prevention plans are removed.
I know that's important to a lot of people here. We also have a question. They are asking about the Cole Park Amphitheater, and is there any chance it'll be renovated?
Joey, you and I have talked about that. We'll have you answer that one.
The Cole Park Amphitheater, it's in pretty good shape right now. We don't have any immediate plans, but we're trying to get a lot better at planning on replacing and improving things before they fall apart. That's our new goal. So yeah, that would be something that we'll take a look at and develop a plan for the next couple of years.
There was Joey. There was programming plan for the white border that's on the top of the amphitheater to clean it and paint it, right?
Yes, sir. We pressure wash it every quarter. We'll probably paint it this winter. That's a winter project when we're not mowing so much.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Deanna, we're going to turn it back to you.
Yes, sir. I have another question here. Oh, I'm trying to. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Does
That's
this
okay.
budget broaden the tax base to ease the burden on the taxpayers?
Well, the budget doesn't necessarily, but the community does. Our growing community, as we bring in more residents, as we build more homes, more people move here to this great community, and as more businesses come here, because it's a great place, that helps to bring in more revenue, just as the resident is asking in the question. And so things like the Steel Dynamics plant, even though it's in San Patricio County and in Sinton, we know that a lot of the employees and their families will live in the city. And that's why City Council approved several incentives to improve the construction or increase and expedite the construction of housing in the Cal Allen area. We want those workers that'll be at the Steel Dynamics to live in our city limits, to have a great quality of life, but also to do just what that resident is saying, to help pay for services in the community. And so it does through those means. We know that there's a lot of new housing starts on the south side of town in the London area. And we know there's a lot of economic development taking place. And we're real fortunate for that revenue stream that overall brings up the quality of life for everybody in the community. I don't know if any of the council members want to add to that. Councilwoman Guajardo is an at-large council member. And okay, Deanna, let's continue with questions.
Here's our 26th question for the night. With this budget, does the city consider avoiding high-priced bids for construction projects?
Richard, you want to answer that?
So we're always yes, sir. Thank you. So we're always looking at our bid pricing in construction, and then we're also looking at the industry prices that are out there, like price of oil, asphalt, that type of thing, concrete. And so what we do is we're looking at, like, we just finished putting a bid out for a lot of our major streets. So when we put them out, we're putting them out so that it's more effective and efficient for our contractors to bid and reduce the price. And we are noticing some of that. We're getting some reduction in pricing. Also, we're doing some in-house. We're working on our projects ourselves. And so that also helps eliminate some of the pricing that we're seeing as well. So we're seeing some movement to lower our bid pricing here over the last few months.
All right, they're wanting an update on the homeless and workforce housing district. They're asking how is it helping to address the increase in vagrancy in District 2?
Right. So we, in the current year budget, we redirected resources to fund for the first time a unit that'll focus on homelessness and workforce housing. We filled, that's a 3-person team, and 2 of the 3 members we filled, and in fact, the 3rd member is starting this Monday, and that 3rd team member will focus on workforce housing. It's citywide. It's not only for District 2, but it's across the whole city, the issue of affordable housing and then homelessness, unfortunately. And what we do know is that the issue of homelessness is made worse through the COVID pandemic. We have noticed anecdotally an increase in encampments and the number of homeless. And so our 2-person team has been working to help alleviate that as best we can. That includes utilizing federal dollars that we've received to address COVID pandemic responses for the homeless in particular. And we're working better than we ever have with the over 30 homeless providers that we have in the community. Those are agencies that help homelessness with services. And we're working in District 2, we're working downtown, we're working in Flower Bluff, we're working in Cal Allen and all parts of the city to help alleviate the homeless. It's not an overnight solution. It's very complex and very complicated, but the good news is we have a dedicated team. We have a city focus now that we may not have had in the past, and we're beginning to see some improvement in certain areas. And in some areas, it may be harder to tell because of the additional homeless population that's as a result of the COVID pandemic.
We have another question. Let's see here. With this budget, will we see the construction of a boardwalk on Ocean Drive?
Richard, I don't think boardwalk, but in case the person asking the question didn't see in the beginning, we are going to have a brand new Ocean Drive road. So the bumpy, pothole-riddled road that exists today from I-37 to Ennis-Jocelyn will be replaced beginning this fall. We're going to do a mill and overlay. There'll be a brand new street surface, the entire length, all in one time. We're not going to do a little piece and then wait years and come back and do another little piece. We're going to do the entire thing. There is a boardwalk at the marina off of Ocean Drive, and that did suffer some damage from Hurricane Hannah, and we're in the process of assessing and working. We have insurance on a lot of that property, so we're developing the replacement plan for it, but not necessarily a boardwalk on the highway, but a lot of, or roadway, but a lot of good improvements around there. I don't know if you want to add anything, Richard, to that.
So, yes, sir. And so part of that process too, as we go down the road, after we do the road work, we're going to be coming back and looking at a lot of the sidewalks and curb ramps in those areas so that we have that walkability, not only biking from the college all the way downtown, but also make it easier for our pedestrians to walk that area. So although it's not a boardwalk, it's also, we're going to improve the pedestrian infrastructure in that area over the next couple of years as well, sir.
That's a good point, Richard. Thank you for adding that.
Lots of good conversation tonight. Just wanted to remind everyone if they'd like to read the proposed budget, they can view it online at www.cctexas.com. Peter?
Okay, great. Well, that concludes our virtual District 2 budget work session. We appreciate all the viewers and listeners that have spent the last hour with us. I want to put up one more graphic to show you the rest of the process, because there's still time for the community to get involved. We have 3 more of these virtual budget work sessions scheduled, including one Thursday night, tomorrow night. That'll be in City Council District 3, hosted by Councilman Barrera. And then next week, we'll have 2 additional. One on Monday, the 17th. That's going to be for City Council District 4, hosted by Councilman Greg Smith. And then the last one will be Wednesday, the 19th. And that's going to be sponsored and hosted by Councilman Gil Hernandez. And so 3 more of these. You don't have to live in the district to WebEx in or Facebook in or YouTube in or watch and then call in. And so if you want to rejoin us on any one of those 3 events, we'd love to see and hear from you as well and share that message with the community. And then we have 2 public hearings at City Council at City Hall, and they're going to be COVID protocol, meaning community still participates with us through telephone or through submitting testimony prior to the meeting, either through email or through submitting it to our city clerk. And so September 8th, there'll be a tax rate public hearing as part of our council meeting. And then there'll also be one on the budget on September 8th. And then the budget, as Councilman Molina said earlier, will begin to wrap up with the first reading on the budget on September 8th. And then the second reading and the adoption is scheduled for September 15th. And then that'll have an adopted budget for the city that'll begin October 1. So that concludes our conversation with the community tonight from City Council District 2. I'm going to let Councilman Molina say the last word and good night. And we'll see everybody back here tomorrow night in City Council District 3. Councilman Molina.
City Manager Zanoni, thank you for your diligence and your hard work. You and your team, you have done an outstanding job of putting this budget together. I'd also like to thank my colleagues who have joined me tonight, Councilman Hernandez, Councilwoman Guajardo, and Councilmember Barrera. Thank you all for being here. We know that we have our challenges. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. And so for the citizens, you who are watching, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your comments and your questions. And please take advantage and reach out to us with any other further comments or questions. We're here to work for you, and we want all the best for our city. So thank you.